Hello, welcome to Mindset to Results. And today we will speak about amazing topic which will help everyone who listening to us get much great results and understanding how results in business are related to our subconscious mind and what is going within. And today our guest is amazing Elinor Moshe, and she is co-founder of the Truth of You. Hi, Elinor.
Hi, Elena. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm really excited to bring in an unseen and unspoken amount dimension when it comes to business. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure that we are going to create amazing and empowering episode and help so many business owners and entrepreneurs, either they just start their business or already in business, how they can multiply results by understanding the connections between their results and their inner world.
Definitely. And this is something that was completely missing from my paradigm. And that doesn't mean to say that you can't do well without it, but there are deeper questions and there are unseen forces at play, even in business, which we need to recognize as its own living entity. It has its own expression, it has its own unconscious patterning that is playing out in real time, and it is not independent to, of course, the founder's energy. So definitely we're heading in that direction.
Yeah, so let's pick about layout of our conversation. What we are going to cover today.
When it comes to esoterics in business, so most people have conventional or they've already made up their mind when it comes to understanding what esoterics are. They see the shitty ad for the psychic that will help you find your love in a minute or, get your ex back. But that is such a bastardized version of these ancient languages and models, which allow us to excavate so much of the unseen truth that really do make or break our success. We all say we want to be in alignment with what our business wants and with who we are, but what are we in alignment with? Are we simply choosing to be in alignment with our ego construct, not understanding what that is foundationed on? Or are we going to align ourselves with something deeper? Because without having this awareness of esoterics, of what esoterics excavate for us in the business realm, we aren't aware of the deeper patterns that are playing out. So I'll give an example. Most people may have cycles to do with money. And conventionally, people will just say, yes, that's business. Yes, that's this. You just need to work on your money mindset. But there could be something far deeper at play here that you aren't, it is this predisposition in the energetic composition of the business that we're not aware of. So if I'm not aware of this, and if I'm not aware of the other forces that are pressing or hindering or expanding the financial aspect of the business, then what do people do? They go pay $30,000 to a coach to help them with some systems and processes. And sometimes you need that. But if that doesn't fix a problem and you're still standing in the same shit as you were 5 years ago, then really you're missing an extensive piece of the puzzle when it comes to your business.
Yeah, great. I like that you mentioned about awareness because we all see the world different. Yes, and the same situation, people can see it different and take different results and different assumptions. And awareness, it is like the onion, which has so many levels. And based on how you see yourself and what you see possible for your business, it is where you can get. Yes, you cannot over oversee or over get results more than where you can see how far you can see that you can go. And this is the initial uh, initial plan which you built yourself. The same people can have the same education, like background approximately, but one person can think about what is possible for him based on his current reality, And another person can come from his big vision and from his fantasy and from his imagination and inspiration. And these two people, although they have almost the same background, they will be so much in like in big distance as a result. And this is all initially comes from their awareness and what they believe that can be possible for them.
Absolutely the case. What because those are great examples. Both are working with the limitations of their direct experience, which has value, but also limitations of their paradigm. There's a concept called paradigm lock. We can't see what's outside of that frame. And whilst there is a place for these traditional business metrics, guidance, and whatnot, these often overlook the internal, the unconscious dynamics, which are the ones who are actually running the show. And these are the ones that play the most critical part in the outcomes and the growth and the fulfillment that comes with why we even started a business in the first place. The field of entrepreneurship is one of the wildest games of self-development. We don't get into it because we want to, find ourselves out of the game in 2, 3 years, maybe even 5. So that was perfectly put. Yes.
Yes, and I also liked how you said that people have to identify what they need at the first step, what they need now, because there are a lot of things, yes, and really there are a lot of amazing mentors and coaches, and they can offer great programs. But if people get the program, and if it is like, as you said, 30K or more, but they are not themselves at that level, they're not matching that program, they're not aligned with that, they have other holes, yes, that they have to fill first in order to build themselves to that level to take the maximum benefit of the program. It doesn't matter how amazing mentor would be, these people will not get the results because they have to address first something to build them up and to match and really get maximum benefits from what they can. And it also relates even level of awareness. If they're not aware, they can not just be aligned with this. It can be very great material and guidance at this frequency, and they can be in this frequency. It is just like different channel. Like, yes, this is all going on, but they just don't like fuse with it. Yes, this is like everything passing by, and at the end they say, oh, I spent so much money and it was good, but I didn't get anything, I didn't get what I have to get from this program. So let's speak about this, how really person can identify what first they need. Yes, what first that hole which has to be filled in, what first has to be addressed.
That's a fantastic question, and that could go into so many different directions. What came to me was what language would we want to use, for example? So let's say you use the language of astrology, which talks about, it's quite holistic in that it has the 12 houses. But what astrology offers insights into the leadership, the communication, the business's identity, the cycles that the business has been launched in. So, at the time of conception of your business, or generally thereof, there are many aspects, there are many energies at play here. And if you are not aware of what is dominant, what is inferior disposition or the dominant disposition of the business, then we aren't sure, well, where do we start? Because if there's you're going to have a big problem with, let's say, putting yourself out there, because this is the deepest wound. This is what strikes the deepest. Then we may want to start working on that, because some people have, again, certain woundings when it comes to visibility. The visibility wound, it comes from somewhere. So that might be a blaring, something blaringly obvious. But it also depends, excuse me, it also depends on where people are in their business. If the business is independent, it's going to need different things from when it has just been conceived and is heavily relying on the founder. So it does depend as to where someone is at, but you can see when you see a business chart as to some things are like, "Oh, we really do need to get to that first because if this isn't addressed, you won't be able to move forward with other things." There's, using another model. So we also use soul contracts. So soul contracts reveal the foundational strengths, challenges, and karmic patterns of a business. It has other aspects as well. But what this does is actually support the business's decisions with its natural evolution. Now, we might have a frequency in the chart of the business that simply is not good. And what is this? When I say not good, it's going to be more challenging. There are some frequencies in certain positions that are not going to be ideal for what this business wants to express as. So then it might be the key decision to actually start with by saying, we need to change the name of the business, or we need to change something within how this business is expressing so that it can achieve what you want. So different models have different, places or touch points that you can start, but it also really depends on where someone is at the journey because as my partner and I were talking over dinner, the business as a baby needs different things than a business as a teenager seeking to express itself.
Mhm. Yes, you said so true that people have addressed first their inner conflict, yes, where they feel not comfortable when it's coming about money or about scaling, yes, and to get into the next level or other issues of visibility. So this should be addressed first because what we have inside will be automatically projected to outside. Yes, and we attract who we are, not what we want. And we get also in life and in business, not what we want and think. We get exactly who we are. Yes, again, it should be frequency match between where we are in life and our awareness, consciousness, understanding things, and what we attract, because everything is according to the law of the cause and effect. And our results in business is effect, and the cause is us. So, how we think, how we make decisions, how we act, what we expect to happen, all set us to the certain frequency, exactly to that channel where we attract everything in our life and business. So let's share a little bit more about this, how our inner world reflects in our business. What did you notice in your practice?
I'll use the duality of the masculine and feminine. So, what do we often see is the sacrificing of one or the other in order to quote unquote achieve. Typically, it is the sacrifice of the feminine in pursuit of what the masculine system tells us is success. So, what do we find then is that this success that we're looking for is actually quite elusive. And what we're chasing is this success cloaked in masculine, just external, just move forward in the world, just get more things. And it's like, no, we are missing a major part of ourselves. This is not just as women, this has nothing to do with gender as the physical container that we're in. This is our energies that we have access to. So we find that the success that people are chasing, it becomes quite hollow. It becomes tied up in again conventional success because our heart's not it's not online. So what are we seeing is that I'll start again. We understand what the masculine is. It's that exertion force, that go, that action projecting out into the world. But if that is not tied to what the feminine is, meaning how we are connected to the what's going on the inside, then how do we know if what we're doing and what we're feeling are actually in alignment? Now, it is not just a given or easy for some people to know what they feel and how they feel, because in order to feel, you need to be able to experience your body. And most of us are just perfect floating heads, under so many layers of control and disconnection and disassociation from our body that even when a feeling tries to come up, we shove it back down because it will go against what the paradigm is saying is successful. This is what it needs to look like. So you can achieve the success, but if it is based on what the masculine system tells us, it can still feel hollow because it is the feminine which sustains us. So even though I had the success, global podcast, interviewing people around the world that are like, hey, can you introduce me to X and four books and international clients and collaborations that people would keel over to get into the room with, I had no feeling. It was not even a numbness. There was nothing, nothing online because the heart was not involved in these decisions or this direction. It was purely a mental construct. And yes, whilst the heart was online for a little bit, it wasn't what it wanted. And it certainly did not end up how it wanted either because that was the cost. That is the cost that we pay as to, our internal and our inner and outer when they're not talking to each other, when they are not in union or communion with each other, then what looks great on the outside feels like absolute void, death, nothingness on the inside, no matter how much it tries to get reinforced externally.
Yes, it is so interesting that people can achieve one goal after another goal, again, one goal, another goal, and never be happy and never even feel satisfied. Because if they have that hyperachiever saboteur in their subconscious mind, yes, I think we many can resonate. I also was a very high perfectionist and that high achiever saboteur. And when I understood that there is the difference between who I am and that who is that saboteur, and when we don't understand the difference, we just can
Mm.
get our life totally in its control. Yeah, and we just lose control ourselves of our life. We forgot who we are, and this saboteur just giving us task. This is task. This is another task, and it feels like we are in the race. And after another task achieved, we just start thinking about the next. Yes, and this is so important to remember why we do that. Yes, to remember to live and to enjoy the process. Because if we have that hyperachiever saboteur active, like we have many different saboteurs, but it is always good to check like which are those inner voices are dominating. And when we understand that it is not us, we just can identify them. Okay, this is my hyperachiever speaking. Okay, now I want to quiet it and who I really am and what I want and why I wanted to achieve this goal. Let's celebrate and let's see like the difference. Yes, and just breathe and allow yourself to live and enjoy life. Otherwise, it can be like that race all that life and people achieve one task after another and they get old and they see like what how I lived, like I don't even have anything in my life to look back, like I didn't have time to see how my children grow up, I didn't have time for my spouse, and they just see that although they achieved a lot, they didn't live life, they didn't really enjoy. So it is important to understand why. Like what is why? What is my why? And how really I want to live my life. What is important for me? Just achieving and be in the race and be in negative stress mode, as you said, masculine energy, or achieve and be in sage mode. Yes, in a beautiful state where you're happy, where you enjoy, and you are in the flow and you achieve the same or even more, but it will be totally different energy and results.
And the saboteur is a wonderful example for business. And for those unfamiliar, of course, that's the Jungian archetype model. And Carolyn Miss, she speaks really well and writes a lot about archetypes if you're familiar as well. And that is one of the most Maybe not the most invisible. I think the trickster is wonderful at hiding itself in all of the nooks and crevices of your psyche. But the saboteur is the one that will, posit opportunities and growth and all of these things as stepping stones to where you thought you want to go. But what you're actually doing is setting your own vision, your own mission, your own soul on fire. The saboteur doesn't always act in your best interest because it hasn't been trained that way. The saboteur can be a wonderful ally, but have who here has actively trained their saboteur? I mean, I didn't know I had one until I realized what it was doing and thinking that it was acting in my best interest. It was not acting in my best interest. And the consequences of that, I, to a certain extent, am still reeling. But I have now seen where the saboteur is also acting in my best interest. It's like, oh, okay, I now understand who the master is because that's also something that we don't do in business. We don't instate ourselves as the master. We're always serving different masters and unconsciously. And this could be, you know, we're doing something because we're actually seeking the love of a mother, father, or maternal or paternal impactor that we never got. So people treat their business as a performance, not an embodiment in this is what the soul is seeking to express. And that could be done in anything. That doesn't, you can have a soul-led business in construction right through to manufacturing. Like it's not about what you're doing. This sits outside of any industry. But yeah, no, I'll yeah, continue because there's a lot to say on the saboteur. That could be a whole other episode. It's
Yes.
subtle.
Yes, so they are not good and not bad. This is just how we all are. We all have them and we always will have them. Just here the way use how we use this. Yes, having these saboteurs, or we just totally give them control over our lives and how we feel and what we do, or we understand that they just abuse and overuse our strength, because this is all is our strength, right? We want to be valuable people, we want to provide value, and this saboteurs can just use this, and they can totally justify why this is logically right to do. Yes, and why we have to do that. But when we understand that this is our strength, but instead of being in that negative mode and just demanding from ourselves more and more, we have to be loving and be compassionate about ourselves and do the same but in a different way. And when we do it in positive way, using our strength and developing them and enjoying life, as the result, we will achieve much more and we will be happier people, and we also will be healthier. Yes, and yes, we will really enjoy life and what we do.
Even that, look at the narratives that people have around business. It's hard. You have to play this dog eat dog. I'm going to throw a solicitor's letter at you. I'm going to do again. And look, there is a time and a place for things. I'm not, saying these systems don't need to exist, but also there, that we have to still be conscious of the narratives that we accept as to what business needs to look like. Because I completely bought into you have to hustle and you need to do all this bro stuff and need, chase, 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 perform, perform, perform. I lifted the hood as to what was actually happening. I'm like, everything's on fire. Nothing was foundationed in truth, and nothing was foundationed in love. And I'm not talking about a romantic love. This is with a capital L, the fabric of the universe. And if we aren't meeting, the business and the parts of the business with the truth, and that's where that awareness comes in. Because for us to be able to access the truth of a situation, we need deeper and deeper awareness as to why this is playing out in the energetic body of the business, or of course yourself. So yeah, no, I could go on, but yeah, do continue. I love these topics because again, it's awareness.
Yes, and I think we will record many topics because we have a lot to share, of course. And yes, it is a lot of who we really become and what is our why and how we deliver. And my favorite book in this regard is the book U Squared, written by Bryce Pritchett. And there he speaks about quantum leaps, how
Mhm.
really to get those big results, big jumps in uh, things which we achieve. It is not by pushing hard, it is not by doing the same what we did before, just harder, because this is the the most mistake, that people think that, oh, I just have to push and I have to do more, something that doesn't work. Yes, what it if you just change your perception and look at things in a different way and start doing something new. And it is like he used the sample, like he was observing how the fly was pushing hard to go outside through the closed window, and it was just beating itself through the closed window again and again. And he was looking at this fly, and he was asking the question, there is the door open just 1 meter on the left, why you just turn your view and just go to the open door without any effort? And this is exactly what is in business. Some people looking for difficult things to do, and because they initially believe that building business should be hard and they have to push hard and they should do so much things. But actually, when we understand the laws and the law of attraction and law of vibration, we can have only who we become. And so if we become that person who will have results which we want, it should be effortless. Yes, it just you just become the person who you have to become, with having that goals, matching those standards for which you decided, and everything will start flow to you. So the focus should be not on doing things hard or chasing something, but asking yourself who I have to become. How can I shift my identity? What is blocking me? What is holding me back? What I have to work within to heal maybe some traumas or some negative experience, and how I can start living from future and seeing myself and making my decisions as I am already there, instead of living in the past with fears and doubts and making decisions from the places where we made mistakes and now afraid of making another one.
And if the like fundamentally, if the energy does not want to flow in that direction, then that's where we start to see the suffering. That's when you start to see situations or events happening. Nothing is coincidental that reinforce that belief that business is hard. So you have a lawsuit or you have a big financial bill or something happens that reinforces that paradigm because the energy does not want to flow in this direction. And what you were speaking about with, aligning to who you are, absolutely. But that is that and who and what we are, the two most largest questions in the cosmos. And how do most people address this? They go and they sit there trying to use their mental faculties alone, using using flat models that really do not get to the depth of who we actually are. They're not pointing in the direction of the soul. So, people will do a disc profile or they'll go to a coach. I'm a life coach and I help people be authentic, and they give them a one-page questionnaire. It's like, you can't figure out shit with that because your body is not online. You have it. When was the last time we interacted with our soul? Have we even been initiated into the soul? And I'm not here talking out of spiritual ego. I have a lot of work to do in this domain. But when people are seeking to answer that question, they will dismiss those models, whether it's human design, astrology, gene keys, tarot. There's so many models that allow the unconscious to be accessed. It's the right tool for the right job. If I need just a step-by-step business manual written process, do this, do that, don't press that, sure. I'm not going to pull out the hammer, for example. But if I need to really go deep, then yeah, I'm going to pull out the right tool. And this is where people are simply only working with their mental faculties. And that is typically built on foundations that are blocked, that are disassociated, that they have shut off so many aspects of themselves into their shadow realm. And so much of what they actually need to be working with and utilizing in order to know how they are is behind lock and key. Now, sometimes that lock and key could be right here. Sometimes that lock and key could be in the furthest part of another dimension that we don't even have awareness of. So, again, awareness alone can be curative, but when people seek to really come into gnosis of who they are, this is not an intellectual exercise. This is not like, oh, I'm this and I'm this. It's like, no, no, the soul, who you are started to form before you even had memory, before you even had language and frameworks to even hold a sense of who you are. And then yeah, you have people that just yeah, and I was one of them. This is why I'm very happy to say all of these things because I was one of them. I thought I had such a strong sense of identity because like you were saying, that frequency attracted more of those frequency. So it kept on reinforcing until it all had to self-combust because it was absolutely not who I was.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot here. So I would like to comment a little bit about situations which happen in business. As you said, a big bill or something else. And here the attitude is very important. If we look at things from the attitude that what is situation is telling me, because everything happens for us. If we see at and look at every situation that this situation is given for me, because automatically people have negative, something bad happens, they negatively react. Yeah, oh, this is bad, this is why it happened. But if we change our perspective and start seeing at things, I am the cause, this is the effect, what I can change, because if we don't look at things from this perception that this is given to me, I have to learn lesson in order to move from here and not repeat this again. If we don't take lessons from every negative experience, we will receive more lessons to learn, and it will be given us again and again till we learn. And this is why people say, oh, why this is happening to me again and again. It is like similar situations, but they are given to us by this universe and by the law, because if we don't change, nothing changes. So we put ourselves in the same situations, but they become even worse and worse. And it can come to that extent that like a brick which just falls on your head, that at least you can find it out now what has to be changed. Yes. And then when bad situation happened, like dramatically bad situation, then we wake up and then we start looking back and understanding, oh yes, I had similar situations in the past and I didn't do anything about this. And this is now why I got this. So now better I will learn my lesson. And this is how we learn in life, and this is how we grow. And bigger these lessons are given to us from other hand, it shows that we have big capacity to learn, and it means that we are here for something more. But in order to get that more and become that more, we have to go through these lessons. And if we are open to learn, sooner we learn them, sooner we will get to our goals. Because as you said, we were born with the mission, we were born with something unique which we meant to do and bring to this planet. And this is how through our life we learn lessons. And when we really get it, we become very successful. Doesn't matter how many times we fail, we get up, we learn, and we succeed. And then we say, yes, now I don't want to change anything in my life. Anything. I am really now who I meant to be, and I enjoy every step of this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few points came to mind. On one level, it is all you. You are creating everything in your reality. There is no one else. But that's great. But then for the person who's maybe just lost their business, has just lost millions of dollars, has just lost someone they love in a workplace accident, they don't need that kind of wisdom. That's not absolutely serving them. And even in those scenarios, they may be, that may have had nothing to do with their journey or their contract that they actually came here for. It may have nothing to do with their karma. So, even though there definitely is a lesson to learn from everything, sometimes that may not be your lesson on your path to learn. But then something else that came to me when you were talking, all of these things are happening. People do not have not been taught, we have not been educated about our spiritual hygiene, about our energetic hygiene. No, we don't go into work and energetically protect ourselves. So it's no different from if I go to work, you lock the front door, you lock the windows, you make sure your safe is locked, so on and so forth. But we don't do that with our energetic body. So even though we walk into a space, how do we know we've sealed all the exits? Even though we think, we have entry points, exit points, even though we may have done everything that we could have, we can still have one part that is unprotected and something that is insidious, that is not our energy, that is not something that we manifested, that has simply come in the form of an attack just because some part was open and unprotected. That can happen as well because people do experience misfortunes. There is so much misfortune being bred in our world. Not all of that is purely of our own creation, also on a certain level, because it doesn't give justice sometimes to the magnitude of what we're experiencing. My partner was channeling, and the higher self gave an example. You can be the safest driver on the road, but you can still get into an accident. So it is also no different in business. Sometimes, yes, it was purely of your own doing, but sometimes you can be the best, the safest, have done every single thing as well, as right, as whole as possible, but there are still bad drivers, bad apples that exist on the same plane operating with us. So just to give that perspective to the situation, because there's people listening, they're like, but my problems, but I didn't manifest this. Well, of course I don't want this. It's like, well, maybe a part of you actually does. And this is very much part of your soul contract that you need to keep, what you were saying beforehand. This is what our soul contract unveils, the lessons that your soul came here to experience. And if they are not transmuted, you will experience them again and again and again and again, particularly those until you learn it.
Yes, of course, not everything that you consciously want to happen. Many things are subconsciously, yes. So
Yeah.
it can be even something which happened in your childhood and stay there energetically in your body and attracts something. So it
Mm-hmm.
is everything happens by the law. There is nothing that happens just by luck. There is no luck. Every success means that if it stays success, it means that you became that person who attracted that. Yes, if people win lottery and they're not aligned with the value of money, we know that from
Yeah. Yeah.
they lose it. They lose and they find themselves even in worse situation because money always is equivalent. Yes, it always matches your value. Yes, and if your value, like if you win lottery, just get mentors as soon as possible to get to the level of that. Otherwise, it just will again go through you, and you will not even realize how everything is gone. So it is not that we want to lose, but it is again just an energetic match where we our body resonate and we channel. And even if something happens which we don't want, but we are at the channel energetically. So it is not something that we want that, but this is like all the thoughts, our beliefs, our like what we do, it is puts us in certain frequency that our body produce, yeah. Yes, and that frequency determines which channel we dwelling. It is like if we want to listen AM, we put our radio at that certain frequency, and when we are at AM, we will not hear what is in FM, right? That totally different channel. This is how things happen in our life, and many of them are beyond our reach and even we didn't think about, but this has happened because we are energetically at this channel. Yes, so this is a very everything based on universal laws, and that everything happens by the law. And we can, again, when what happens, we always can see what situation can tell me. For example, um, I was in Ukraine in 2022 when the war started. And it started from bombing airport, which just was 2 kilometers far from our house on 24 February. Of course, it was not me who caused that. But having this mindset, I asked myself, what is situation telling me, what I have to do now, what decision I want to make. And based on that decision, I just told my family that we are leaving, and we left the same day because it was just not safe to stay at the house, and we left to new country, didn't even know where we are going. So
Wow.
but that situation again, like every situation, if we look at it again, when we understand the laws, opposites. In everything bad as the war can be, there also is the same equivalent of good. If I want to see what is good, I just change my mindset. I put my thoughts what I can do good for myself in that bad situation, right? And this is, I decided we are going to UK. I am going to open business. I will do this. I will be public speaking. I will teach people what helped me in that situation. And this is exactly what I'm doing. So of course, we cannot influence different situations like war or tsunami or many things, but having this attitude, we always can win. In every situation, we just can switch our focus. Okay, what is good? Of course, there is nothing can be good in the war, but what I can make if I would like to find something in this situation particular, what it would be. And for me, it would be going to England and doing different things which I didn't do before. So, yeah, attitude is important, and we can just decide whatever happens, decide what we want to focus on and what we want the situation to give us, to what we want to bring from it, and focus on that instead of being in that victim. Yes, why this happened, what I'm going to do, because this is very easy to go to that fear and doubt and shock and depression and just having no hope in life. Yes, when you just lose everything and you are like in my case, I had my daughter 14 years old, I had my mother 56 years old, and I had to make decision for them also, and it is not easy. It is a lot of really strength is needed to make decision and to make them believe that everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, well, that's one situation where it's either there is, the whatever people draw on in those situations, it's far beyond, any affirmation or whatnot. But definitely what you said there is founded. But I just want to highlight when people can't do that, or let's say they have done that and it doesn't sustain themselves, as you were talking about beforehand, it's the trauma or it's the block or there is something on a deeper energetic level, which is not allowing people to access that positive disposition. And I was actually talking to someone today about, positive thinking, which is important, absolutely. But what that does, if used incorrectly, is, that sort of that new age spiritual love and light, because it just reaffirms to people to bypass all of the horrible, dark things that they're actually feeling in that present moment. And they are valid. But we're not here to stay in that. It is to experience it in the present moment, in the right state, to allow it to pass. Because of course, people want to be, happy and fulfilled and experience life. But then it begets the question when, quote unquote, they've done a little bit of the work conventionally and it doesn't yield them the results, especially in situations like that, when push comes to shove. It's like, well, how come I can't see the silver lining here? And, I think back to, to my parents who, my mum has always had such a bleak disposition. And that has not come from anywhere. That's ancestral. This is generational. This goes so far beyond just her as an individual as well. So, yeah, for people who have applied that and don't necessarily have the results that they want, that's the invitation to go deeper. And sometimes that depth may be dark. Sometimes that depth may be completely outside of your frame of reference as to what you think may even offer you truth or offer you, ultimately that peace. But if we're not willing to seek that and to try on new languages and to explore different realms and to seek to connect to different parts of ourselves that we do not even know A exist or B are here with us right now, then something which is so natural to us, like to think positively, animals don't have negative thoughts, humans do. Then that's when again that exploration really calls for.
Yes, of course, we have to allow ourselves to be humans. Yes, and there are dark it is times when we can be sad, when we can be stressed,
Mm,
and that is totally okay. It is
mm,
normal in human beings, and we have to allow ourselves to feel that, to feel
mm-hmm.
that. Just don't stay there long. Yes, because it doesn't serve you if you stay there. It is okay to get there for a day, maybe two, three, or a week. But then you just, okay, accept this has happened and what I'm going to do about this. Do I want to stay and just let the situation to affect my life and other people? Or I want to go through it and I want to find the way how I want to learn something from it, how I can grow from it, how I can be stronger. Yes, more even experience because now I lived that and what I can give more to the world out of that situation. So it is totally
What?
normal. Yeah.
Oh no, one thing the feminine does not work with is time. Last year I had, a part that really wanted to express itself come up, and I was feeling, I felt like I had an internal crisis of purposelessness. And there were some days that were just so bleak, and I tried so hard to tell it, you need to be over by the weekend. You need to this, you need to that. But that was approaching something so raw with such masculine constructs like time, productivity, calendars, and sure, they have their place. Like if I had a client call, you'd pull yourself together. That exists. But in terms of transmutation, the feminine doesn't give it doesn't care what your calendar looks like. She doesn't work with time. She works with have you felt it? Have you really connected with what's being offered here through the darkness? So yeah, I've done that before where I've really applied boundaries and containers around it. But it actually was a season. It was months. And I remember going to the shaman at the end of last year and I'm like, I'm not me. Where's this? Where's that? I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's you feeling stuff. And it was a season. I was in winter because the winter was needed to get to spring. And then once I get to summer, then will come autumn. And of course, there will be another winter. It is as natural as nature knows exactly what to do. So I I was so abrasive against it and I tried to apply, again, the mental realm to something so deep, so beautiful than the feminine. But this isn't to throw out, look, the ego's got to eat. And there are still things that, we do need to keep moving in the world. And this is also a testament to, how much of, especially as business owners, there is always something on, always something that you need to do, always something that you're looking to make sure that in a year from now, the business can still, function and operate as it needs to. And look at the system in which, whether people are in corporate or whatever it is, how many systems just don't give people that breathing space in order to just, experience that. And that's why doing this inner work, or, we love to lavish in these languages. It really is such a luxury for people today. And what it offers is something that just cuts through the noise. It is the truth. That is what the truth does.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elinor. It was amazing speaking to you today. Yes, it was Elinor Moshe, co-founder of The Truth of You. And we are looking forward to have you again on our podcast and discuss other topics.
Thank you, Eleanor. I absolutely love this and certainly hope that business owners allow themselves to look deeper than what they've been conditioned to. So thank you so much.
Yeah, looking forward to have you again soon.